if we look at the groups that oppose scrapping the long census form, some of them represent some minorities like immigrants or francophone groups. Do you foresee that if they lose some of the valuable data, their funds could be slashed as well?
I have little doubt that if organizations that support minority communities and those that are at risk lose that essential data, that it's going to be very hard for them to make their funding arguments. When an organization that represents an affected group, a minority group, groups that are, by the way, traditionally more subject to being victimized by crime, when you cut that, you makes it very difficult for them to make their funding arguments because they don't have the base data to explain why they need it in the first place. And that's why when you hear from the United Way that says in the delivering of its services that it's going to have a really tough time delivering its services, that it's not going to be able to as efficiently utilize its money, it means that it's going to have less resources. It's going to be able to help less. And you know what that's going to lead to? More crime. Because here's what happens. When you have people who are at risk, when you have people who've been victimized, who don't get help, when you have somebody who's beginning to walk a dark path and isn't helped, when you have a minority group that is facing an extremely difficult situation and isn't given an opportunity for hope and employment, that it leads to dark places, and we all know that. And so they're cutting this. They're cutting the ability of those groups to get information that's going to help them. And it's going to mean that that at our base, that foundation that we have, that makes sure that people don't fall through the cracks, becomes porous. And it's one of the reasons why the census data is so critical.
Would you go as far to say as it's one of the goals that the government is not communicating, but ideally would like to slash some of those funds?
I think this government, which has an ideological bent, which has come out on many occasions, and when it does have to cut, seems to cut on the basis of retribution and people who don't fit their ideology, would love ways to surreptitiously achieve the same thing, but that they couldn't achieve directly. But, you know, as for their overall overarching motivation, I think that their overarching motivation on all this stuff is both ideological and political. I think they saw this as an opportunity to give some raw meat to a base to say that we're anti-government, we don't believe in government, we can get them out of your household. But let's go back to what their solution is, and this is what's so disingenuous. They say that to fix the problem that they've created, because it wasn't a problem before they created, that they're going to go to a Scandinavian model, where the police, you have to register yourself with the police and tell the police when you move. I mean, this is an incredibly invasive system, and this is what they throw out as if it's a potential alternative. So I think this government is more concerned about the talking points. They don't ever want to get into the depth of any issue. And when you do, they realize they have no idea what they're talking about. And what they're suggesting and putting in the door is most of the time raw politics and a number of times ideological.